Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on something that happens entirely behind closed doors at pretty much every major product company in the world. When you think of quality control, what's the first thing that comes to mind? You probably picture highly calibrated computers, sterile labs, laser scanners, complex chemical readouts. But today, we're going to look at the absolute ultimate quality control machine. And spoiler alert, it's not a computer, it's the human body. And as we're about to see, relying on human biology to test products is this incredibly fascinating and honestly sometimes highly flawed process. Okay, let's dive into this with a quote that might completely ruin your appetite. Meat smells like petrol, Prosecco smells like rotting apples. This is a completely jarring reality for a lot of people right now. I mean, imagine being a professional food tester for a luxury brand, and suddenly your morning glass of testing Prosecco smells like a literal compost bin. Yuck. We're talking about post-COVID sensory distortion here, and it establishes the incredibly high stakes of what we're looking at today. Because think about it, if the very people testing our food and drinks are experiencing this, how on earth do companies protect the products we actually buy? Well, to understand how they do it, we first need to define the official scientific term for this whole shebang: organoleptic assessment. Yeah, it's a big, clunky word, but it basically just means evaluating a product's quality using human senses: sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. These human sensory discriminants are the absolutely crucial factors determining whether a product makes it to the supermarket shelves or just gets thrown straight in the trash. Whether we're talking about the crisp snap of a chocolate bar, the specific aroma of a chemical product, or the exact flavor profile of tobacco products, organoleptic assessment is the front line of defense. Section 1. The human quality control. In this hidden corporate world, everyday employees basically serve as the ultimate gatekeepers of quality, and they operate on one core philosophy: human senses equal the ultimate measure. Because, right, despite all of our incredible advancements in technology, at the end of the day, sensory attributes are what actually drive our consumer choices. Sure, a machine can tell you the exact, down-to-the-milligram sugar content of a cookie, but it can't tell you if the visual appeal, the subtle flavor notes, and the rich aroma actually make you want to eat it. That assessment has to be made by humans. Food technologists, marketing teams, QA departments, factory workers right there on the plant floor, they are the ones doing these organoleptic evaluations. Section 2. When senses deceive us. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the twist. What happens when that biological testing machine is completely broken? Take taste blindness, for example. This is a very real disorder where a person is unable to partially or even completely distinguish individual tastes while eating. You see, people have vastly different sensory predispositions. And actually, scratch that. It's not just a simple muting of flavor. This disorder can completely abolish a taste sensation. It can weaken it. Or, and this is super dangerous for a product tester, it can intensely magnify a taste perception. Some causes are just temporary, while others mean a permanent loss. If a taste-blind tester is evaluating a new soup recipe, their skewed feedback could entirely derail the product's entire flavor profile. And it's definitely not just about taste. Color vision deficiency, what we commonly call color blindness, is a genetic limitation. It's typically inherited recessively with the X chromosome, which means it affects men much more frequently. Just look at this data. Approximately 8% of men have this disorder, compared to just a tiny 0.5% of women. That 8%, that is a massive statistical chunk of any workforce. This condition manifests as an inability to perceive differences between certain colors. So imagine an employee on the production line trying to verify the exact golden brown hue of a baked good or the specific dye color of a chemical. This genetic limitation can quietly and completely sabotage visual product evaluations. No way around it. Which brings us right back to the recent pandemic and a condition called dysosmia, an impairment or change in the perception of olfactory or smell sensations. Just like we noted earlier with that crazy petrol and rotting apples example, some people recovering from COVID-19 suffer from really long-term disturbances of their senses. According to doctors and scientists, these olfactory disorders can be so incredibly strong that they basically hinder normal everyday functioning. Now, if these individuals are sitting in a corporate tasting room, their dysosmia creates severe biases in the entire decision-making process. They simply cannot accurately evaluate the product. Section 3. The sensory test breakdown. So how in the world do companies protect themselves from these invisible biological flaws? Well, consulting agencies like Consumer Insight Consulting use this incredibly rigorous clinical verification process to scientifically vet a person's sensory sensitivity. And let me tell you, this is not some casual quick quiz. Employees undergo a grueling battery of 9 specific subtests. They evaluate your ability to recognize tastes in plain aqueous solutions. They test your color recognition. They test your ability to not only recognize, but actually remember specific odors. They test your scaling, ranking items, detecting minute differences between extremely similar products, and detecting the precise intensity of a given taste. It is an intense level of scientific rigor designed to literally push human senses to their absolute limits. To maintain all this scientific rigor, there are strict logistics involved. These verifications are typically conducted on site in highly controlled groups of just 8 to 12 employees at a time. It requires a fully managed clinical environment right there at the client's facility to ensure the data is pristine. Furthermore, the duration of this testing is significant. The whole verification process takes a solid 2 to 3 hours to complete, depending on the group's dynamics. I mean, think about that for a second. Companies are investing hours of clinical testing into small groups of employees just to investigate their biological hardware. It really highlights how deeply these businesses must understand human biology to ensure their products are perfect. Agencies actually recommend these sensory tests be conducted at least once a year. Section 4. Building the perfect team. So the crucial point is understanding the ultimate goal here. What happens to the employees who fail? Well, ultimately, the objective is to eliminate biases and ensure quality. It's not about punishment. By filtering out sensory flaws, companies can select people with the actual scientifically proven sensory abilities required for the job. This allows them to build the best possible product evaluation team. And this matters immensely because ensuring correct organoleptic assessment translates directly to product quality at every single stage of a product's life cycle. From the early laboratory prototypes all the way to the factory floor, you need the right people evaluating the product. But here is perhaps the most fascinating corporate reality of all this. Everyone tests, but not everyone decides. If an employee is found to have, say, very low sensory sensitivity, color blindness, or dysosmia, they aren't necessarily fired. They aren't even completely excluded from organoleptic evaluation. They might still sit in and participate in tastings. However, science dictates that their opinions simply cannot be the decisive ones. Their input is logged, sure, but it's no longer a crucial factor in the final product decision. And that brings us to the ultimate question for you to ponder today. Are your senses reliable enough to make the final call? We just walk through life trusting our eyes, our nose, and our taste buds completely implicitly. But as this hidden corporate world of sensory testing proves, our biological machinery might not be as perfectly calibrated as we like to think. The next time you take a bite of your favorite food or smell your morning coffee, ask yourself, are you really experiencing it the exact way it was designed? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the fascinating world right in front of you. See you next time.